Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a sector that's seeing some really remarkable growth.
Yeah,
So we
absolutely.
were talking about the global market for diabetic dietary supplements.
That's right.
And we're basing our deep dive on a pretty comprehensive market intelligence report. Our mission today is really to unpack the key trends, the projections, and some truly surprising growth figures within this specific health sector.
That's quite a story.
It really is. And get this for a headline. The market for these supplements, it's actually forecast to more than double in value by 2033.
Double. That's significant.
Huge. So to really grasp the scale here, let's look at the global snapshot first.
Okay.
This market back in 2021 was already nearing $10 billion. The exact figure was 9,827.89 million.
Almost 10 billion, yeah.
Then fast forward just to 2025. So next year it's projected to leap to over $13.6 billion.
A big jump already.
But here's where it gets really interesting. By 2033, we're looking at a staggering jump to over $26.2 billion. That's more than double its 2021 value. It represents an impressive compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of 8.52%. That signals, incredibly strong and sustained consumer demand worldwide, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. What's fascinating here is precisely that sustained upward trajectory. I mean, this isn't just a flash in the pan.
No.
It really suggests a fundamental, a reevaluation of personal health, particularly for people managing chronic conditions like diabetes.
Right.
This sustained investment by consumers, it implies a growing demand for more integrated health solutions.
Integrated, okay.
Yeah, perhaps even pointing towards a future where dietary supplements are seen less as, alternatives and more as essential components of a holistic health regimen. It could potentially influence pharmaceutical development, maybe even how insurance coverage works down the line.
That broader shift towards proactive health is, fascinating.
Wow.
And speaking of established trends, let's maybe zoom into North America.
Sure, a big player.
Definitely. This region already dominates in terms of sheer volume. In 2021, North America accounted for over $3.1 billion, and it's expected to reach nearly $8 billion by 2033. That's growing annually at just over 8%.
Still very strong growth for a mature market.
Exactly. And within that, the United States is the clear regional leader. It climbed from over $2.5 billion in 2021 to a projected more than $6.2 billion by 2033.
Right.
But if you're looking for really robust growth, Canada actually stands out.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, showing the highest regional growth rate. The CAGR is nearly 9.9% annually. It's surging from over $400 million in 2021 to almost $1.3 billion by 2033.
That's quite a rate for Canada.
It is.
No.
And Mexico also shows steady expansion, projected to more than double its market value by 2033 as well. So how does a region like this, already so mature in healthcare spending, continue to be such a significant growth driver?
Well, the continued strength of established markets like North America, it largely stems from a few things. High healthcare spending overall, obviously. A strong public awareness about health conditions like diabetes. And importantly, well-developed, accessible distribution channels for health supplements. You can find them everywhere.
Sure.
Plus, we also see higher disposable incomes here, generally speaking. That allows consumers to invest more readily in these kinds of supportive dietary solutions, maybe as a regular part of their health routine.
So it's less about new people starting and more about existing users maybe using more or more
Yes.
consistently.
Exactly. It's less about brand new adoption and more about sort of deepening those existing trends.
Got it. Okay, from North America, let's pivot across the Atlantic. Let's look at Europe.
Okay. Another major market.
Indeed. This market was valued at over $2.5 billion back in 2021, and it's forecast to grow to over $6.4 billion by 2033. That's a healthy annual growth rate, too, nearly 8%.
Pretty consistent with North America's rate, then.
Very similar, yeah. Key contributing countries include the UK, projected to more than double its market to over $800 million. Germany, seeing its market value also more than double to over $1.1 billion. And France, also on track to exceed $1 billion.
So the big economies are driving it there, too.
Largely, yes. But we also see notably strong annual growth rates in Italy, that's at 8.5%, and Russia, interestingly, at over 9%.
Oh, Russia's rate is quite high.
It is. And then you've got consistent contributions from countries like Spain, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Luxembourg. The list goes on. So how might Europe's, very diverse healthcare systems influence this market's expansion differently across the continent?
Yeah, that's what's interesting about Europe, precisely how those diverse healthcare systems might play a role. In some countries, with really robust public health care, supplements might be seen more as a personal, sort of out-of-pocket investment.
Right, not covered.
Exactly. Not something the state system typically funds.
Yeah.
Conversely, in systems with maybe more private components, consumers might be more accustomed to spending directly on health products.
Makes sense.
But despite these structural differences, the consistent growth right across the continent suggests a pretty broad adoption of these supplements. Maybe driven by changing demographics and aging population, perhaps,
Could be.
or just a rising kind of pan-European focus on personal wellness and preventative measures.
Okay. Now, if you're looking for truly exceptional growth,
Ah,
you have to turn your attention to Asia Pacific.
definitely the growth hotspot.
Absolutely. This region holds the highest regional annual growth rate, over 9.2%.
Wow, 9.2.
Yeah. Its market value is nearly $2.7 billion in 2021, and it's projected to surge to an incredible $7.8 billion by 2033.
It's almost tripling.
Almost. China is a leader here. Revenues climbing from nearly $900 million to almost $2.5 billion. Japan is set to grow from almost $500 million to over $1.2 billion.
Big numbers.
But the true standout performer is India.
India, right, I saw that.
Yeah, the highest annual growth among major countries. A remarkable 11.184% CAGR.
Over 11%.
Soaring from just under $400 million in 2021 to over $1.4 billion by 2033. What specifically makes India such a rocket ship in this market?
India's growth is phenomenal. And, it's not just simple economic development, though that's part of it.
Okay.
We're seeing, I think, a unique blend of factors. Increased disposable income, yes. Massive digital penetration that makes supplements easily accessible, even outside the major cities.
Online access.
Exactly. And maybe perhaps a growing trust in traditional, like Ayurvedic-inspired nutritional approaches, which kind of dovetail perfectly with modern dietary supplements.
Interesting connection.
Add to that a rapidly expanding middle class and increasing urbanization, which often bring, changes in lifestyle and diet that unfortunately contribute to a rising incidence of diabetes.
Right.
That's just a confluence of factors creating this incredibly fertile ground for growth.
That really paints a picture. It's like demand is directly mirroring economic and social shifts.
Precisely.
Okay, but let's turn our attention now to South America, another region showing a really strong surge.
Yeah, also posting strong numbers.
From over $600 million in 2021, it's set to hit over $1.7 billion by 2033. The annual growth rate there is nearing 9.1%.
Just behind Asia-Pacific's rate.
Very close. Brazil, as the largest economy in the region, is a major player, naturally. It's projected to nearly triple its market value to almost $740 million. And we're also seeing significant, double-digit percentage jumps in revenues for Argentina and Peru.
Double digits, wow.
Yeah. Along with Colombia, which is showing nearly a 9.7% annual growth rate, Chile is also maintaining healthy expansion. So are there specific cultural factors or maybe health challenges unique to Latin America that might be amplifying this particular growth?
Well, in South America, we can indeed draw some pretty clear connections between economic development and these evolving health spending patterns. As countries like Brazil and Colombia experience, pretty robust economic growth, their populations often gain greater access to health information,
Okay.
better healthcare options, and critically, the ability to afford more diverse health products.
The affordability piece.
Exactly. The rising middle class in these nations, it contributes significantly to the increased demand for dietary supplements, often as part of a more holistic, maybe preventative approach to health management.
Right.
And it's also worth noting, like in Asia, those lifestyle shifts that come with urbanization can also lead to increased health concerns, which further drives demand for these kinds of products.
Okay. Moving on to what the report calls the emerging frontiers. Let's talk about the Middle East.
Right. Another region with impressive growth.
Yeah, powerful annual growth rate here, too, over 9.5%.
Higher than Asia Pacific, even.
Just slightly, yeah. Its market was valued at over $330 million in 2021, projected to reach almost $1 billion by 2033.
Nearing $1 billion.
Saudi Arabia's growth is notable, on track to nearly triple its market value to around $290 million.
Wow.
And the UAE is particularly impressive. Its annual growth rate is over 10.6%.
Over 10% in the UAE. Okay.
Plus, Turkey also shows strong double-digit percentage jumps, with Egypt and Qatar making solid contributions too. What are some of the unique market dynamics driving this growth, specifically in the Middle East?
The unique dynamics in the Middle East often include, a growing affluent population in many areas. and increasing government investment in healthcare infrastructure.
Mm.
That's often part of broader national development plans you see in the Gulf states, for example.
Right, diversification efforts.
Exactly. The region is also, unfortunately, seeing a rise in lifestyle-related health conditions, like diabetes and obesity, which could be driving demand for preventative and management solutions like these supplements.
Okay.
Other investment drivers might include a growing focus on health and wellness tourism in some countries, and just generally an increase in health consciousness among a rapidly expanding, often young population.
Right. Okay, finally, let's talk about the Africa region. The report says it's gaining ground.
Yes, starting from a smaller base, but growing.
Definitely. And $8.465 million in 2021. It's set to reach over $1.25 billion by 2033.
Crossing the billion mark.
Nigeria shows considerable growth, projected to nearly triple its market value to over $550 million. And South Africa expands significantly, too, from over $180 million to over $500 million.
Those are the two major economies there driving it.
Primarily, yes. But this raises, I think, an important question about accessibility and infrastructure. How does this market achieve such growth despite what many might perceive as developmental challenges?
That's a really crucial point. I mean, while these markets are showing promising growth, the challenges are real. They often revolve around affordability for a large part of the population.
Sure.
Establishing robust distribution networks, especially outside the big cities, and just ensuring these supplements can reach a broad population.
Logistics must be tough.
Can be. However, the consistent growth rate suggests that despite these challenges, there's a clear and increasing demand. It's likely driven by factors like rapid urbanization in Africa too, a growing youth population which is often more health aware, and a greater spread of health information via mobile tech, even if the formal healthcare infrastructure is still developing. It really speaks to a powerful underlying need, wouldn't you say?
It seems so. So let's try and synthesize this. What does this all mean for us? We've seen this dynamic upward movement across every single region.
Everywhere. Yeah.
Asia Pacific and South America are clearly leading the charge in terms of sheer growth rate, demonstrating really explosive potential.
Definitely the speed leaders.
While North America and Europe, they continue to hold significant sway in just total market volume, the biggest slices of the pie. It's clear this isn't some localized trend, is it? It's a truly global phenomenon reshaping how people approach their health.
Indeed. And this global boom in diabetic dietary supplements, it seems fundamentally driven by a few core reasons we've touched on. One, a rapidly rising global health awareness.
Right.
Two, the unfortunate but, undeniable increase in diabetic populations worldwide.
A major driver.
And three, strong regional investments in the healthcare sector, broadly speaking. It signifies, I think, a broader societal shift towards self-care and proactive health management, with these dietary supplements playing an increasingly central role.
Yeah.
For consumers, it really reflects a desire for maybe more control over their own health narrative.
It certainly paints a picture of a world increasingly focused on managing health through, well, dietary intervention alongside other measures. If this market is growing so rapidly, what does it suggest about the ongoing evolution of personal health management and maybe preventative care on a global scale? Food for thought there.
Absolutely. And building on that, perhaps a final question for our listeners to consider. What innovative product developments or even policy changes might we see emerge in response to this sustained demand, particularly in those regions showing the most dramatic growth, like Asia or the Middle East? What new forms of collaboration, perhaps, between supplement manufacturers, healthcare providers, and even governments might arise from all this?
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here again, taking a deep look at some fascinating sources for you. Today we're jumping into something that's, well, really moving fast, and it's pretty critical, the market for diabetic dietary supplements. It's this really interesting mix of healthcare, what consumers are doing, and, the science behind it all. Our goal, as always, is to sort of unpack the key things happening in this market, pull out the most important bits from the research we've looked at, and get you up to speed quickly. We'll cover what's pushing the growth, the roadblocks it's hitting, and some really interesting trends that are shaping its future. Okay, so let's get right into it. To understand this market, we need to look at what's really pushing it forward. What are the big forces behind the growth in these diabetic supplements?
Well, probably the biggest driver, the most fundamental one really, is just the rising number of diabetes cases all over the world. It's quite striking. I mean, we're talking millions of new diagnoses every year. This isn't just a health issue. It's creating this huge ongoing demand. It's basically shifted the baseline need for ways to manage blood sugar that are effective and easy to get.
Right.
So things like supplements with chromium, for example, people look at that for helping insulin sensitivity, or alpha-lipoic acid, maybe herbal extracts like bitter melon. These are becoming really common complementary therapies. People choose them specifically because they might, help regulate glucose and just support overall daily health for someone with diabetes.
So the sheer volume of new cases is definitely a huge part of it, but is it only about reacting after someone's diagnosed, or is there something more like fundamental changing in how people think about health? It feels like prevention is a bigger deal now.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a really key point. It builds on that idea of managing existing conditions. But yeah, there's this definite global shift towards thinking preventively about healthcare. You see more consumers, especially folks who know they're at risk for type 2 diabetes, are actively investing in their long-term health before things get serious. So these dietary supplements, they're becoming tools, really, for managing pre-diabetes.
Mm.
That stage where blood sugar is high, but not quite diabetes yet. They can support metabolism, maybe improve insulin sensitivity. It gives people a way to try and maintain a healthier lifestyle and potentially, avoid needing more serious medical treatments later on. It's definitely proactive.
That makes sense. And we can't ignore the age factor here, can we? The fact that the population is getting older globally must play a role too. Older adults are just, well, more likely to face chronic conditions like diabetes.
That's exactly right. As people get older, they are increasingly looking for accessible ways, often over-the-counter things, to help manage blood sugar. And this group, they often have specific concerns beyond just glucose. They might be looking for supplements that could help with nerve health, or keeping energy levels up, or supporting their cardiovascular system. So that creates this really steady, resilient demand for these particular kinds of nutraceuticals, these health-promoting compounds. It ensures the market keeps growing with a pretty stable base of users.
Okay. But, every market, especially one tied so closely to health, faces obstacles. While things are booming, what are the sort of the speed bumps or challenges this market has to deal with? What are the key restraints?
Yeah, that's crucial to consider. And maybe one of the biggest issues, a real headache for the industry, is the lack of standardized regulation.
Yeah.
It varies so much from country to country, even region to region. The rules about what goes into supplements, the quality of ingredients, and especially what companies can claim about effectiveness.
Yeah.
It's all over the place. And this inconsistency, it's not just messy, it really chips away at consumer trust. And maybe even more importantly, it makes it hard for healthcare professionals to get behind these products. They need consistency.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a huge hurdle for people trying to figure out what to buy and for doctors trying to give reliable advice. Which brings up another question. How much solid science is actually behind these products? That's got to be on people's minds.
It absolutely is. And that insufficient clinical validation, that's another major restraint. Look, without really strong scientific evidence, proper, well-run clinical trials, a lot of these products struggle to seem legitimate, to doctors and often to savvy patients too. This gap, this space between the marketing buzz and the actual hard clinical proof, it really slows down how widely they get adopted, especially in healthcare systems that are more tightly regulated and demand that proof. It creates a kind of trust deficit.
Okay, so regulations and proof are big ones. What else?
And then there's a really critical safety point. The potential for interactions between these supplements and actual prescription diabetes medications. You see, certain supplement ingredients might interfere with how prescribed drugs work. For example, some could maybe amplify the effect of blood sugar-lowering drugs, which could lead to dangerously low blood sugar, hypoglycemia. Or they might affect how the body processes other medicines.
Wow, okay.
This potential for negative interactions, causing blood sugar swings or other side effects, it makes people understandably hesitant to use them consistently, especially if they're already managing multiple health issues and taking several different medications. It makes doctors cautious too, and rightly so.
So quite a few challenges there. But despite all that, you mentioned our sources point towards some really interesting, maybe even transformative trends. Where is this market heading? What's exciting on the horizon?
Right, despite the hurdles, there's definitely innovation. One key trend we're seeing is this growing preference for herbal and natural ingredients. Supplements using things like fenugreek, cinnamon, Genema sylvestre, maybe berberine. They're really gaining traction with consumers. Part of the appeal is that they're often perceived as safer, maybe more aligned with a natural approach to wellness.
Yeah.
Take berberine, for instance. It's gotten a lot of attention because some research suggests it might work in ways similar to certain diabetes drugs, affecting how the body handles glucose. That makes it really attractive to health-conscious folks looking for plant-based options.
And access has changed completely too, right? The boom in online sales and these direct-to-consumer, the DTC channels, that's massively expanded how people can even find and buy these things.
Oh, absolutely. That digital shift is huge. It's not just about convenience, though that's part of it. It means consumers get, maybe personalized product suggestions. They can read reviews from other users, set up easy auto-renew subscriptions. But crucially, it lets these brands talk directly to potential customers, build communities online, maybe target specific groups within the diabetic population. It really boosts awareness and gets people engaged in a way traditional retail couldn't.
Okay, so natural ingredients, easier online access. What else?
And the last big trend, I'd say, is a really strong move towards more targeted formulations. Manufacturers aren't just making general diabetes support supplements anymore. They're developing specialized products, really honing in on specific needs related to diabetes. So maybe it's purely focused on glucose regulation or specifically for nerve health, which, as we know, can be affected by diabetes, or maybe focusing on cardiovascular support. These kinds of specialized products help brands stand out in what's becoming a very crowded market. And importantly, it means people with diabetes can potentially find solutions that feel much more tailored to their individual health picture, moving past that one-size-fits-all idea.
Okay, so wrapping things up then, it sounds like the diabetic dietary supplements market is definitely going to keep growing strongly. It's being shaped by, well, innovation in ingredients, much easier digital access, and it seems a real need for ongoing consumer education.
Yeah, and if we sort of zoom out and connect this to the bigger picture, it does raise a pretty important question, I think, something for you to think about. As this market keeps expanding, getting more diverse, driven by both genuine health needs and, let's be honest, some clever marketing. How does the way we educate consumers need to change? How do we empower people to make choices that are not just informed, but also safe, given all the different claims and the varying levels of regulation out there? How do we make sure people really get what they're taking and why?
That's a really powerful question to leave us with. Definitely something to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gives you some useful insights into managing personal health and understanding these broader market shifts.